All right guys, today we're gonna do a market update. The market is different. The market has shifted. Everyone knows, it's all over the news. Every agent, even if they're not doing a ton of business, knows that they shouldn't be writing those aggressive offers in the same way they used to. At the end, I'm gonna answer the question of buyers, should you buy? Before we get into that, we are starting to do a webinar. Go on our website, come into our world, let us know your intentions and say, hey, Derek mentioned that webinar in the video and I wanna sign up for the next one, let me know when it is. I'll be in there with a group of people, they'll answer their questions. I will contribute some questions, be valuable to everyone. Hey, if you wanna have a beer or a glass of wine while we talk real estate, talk Hawaii, then we'll do that too. So hopefully we see you on the webinar. We'll show you some statistics and answer your questions directly. So the last time we did a market update, we were in the beginning of the shifting market. Interest rates were changing. The interest rates by the end of this year, who knows if they'll be over 8%, touching 9%. The Fed is obviously trying to correct the housing market surge that probably never should have been and was a result of 2.25 interest rate, people having savings. Because remember, COVID didn't really affect the physician working at the hospital who had the buying power. It affected the service worker. They bottomed out rates, money was free. Maybe if you qualified for $500,000 in Hawaii before rates went down, now you could qualify for $750,000. Now you can get a home. Everyone was buying. 30 offers on a house, everyone was buying. That's not the case. So the kind of offer that we were seeing back then was as much money forward as we could represent to show strength. Appraisal clauses in the seller's favor. So if it doesn't appraise, we'll pay all the cash to make up the difference as a buyer, but we'll give you more than the home's potentially worth. There was a point in time, depending on the neighborhood we're looking at, if a buyer wasn't willing to do those things, then it really wasn't worth pursuing it unless we found something off market. That's how crazy the market was. We're not there anymore. What we're seeing now is 2-1 buy downs. We're seeing offers where the buyers are writing offers, asking the seller to buy down their rate 2 points for the first year, 1 point for the second year, and then by the third year, they're to the 7% rate that they're locking in at or whatever the case may be. Now these rates are gonna shift in the next coming months, so I don't wanna say specific rates. It's like a modified version of an ARM, adjustable rate mortgages. This 2-1 buy down is a version of an ARM, but the seller is paying for it. Now, the lenders out there might be like, no, it's not an ARM, but what the fact is your rate's better when you start, your payment's gonna get higher and then higher. The lender is qualifying you based off of the higher payment, based off of the higher rate. So the first 2 years are just luxury. You should be saving and investing that money or paying down your house more. But this 2-1 buy down program is like a version of an adjustable rate mortgage. That's the way I explain it. We're also just seeing general buyer credit sometimes on offers. Now, if you're a seller out there and you're like, dang, Derek, I was just gonna hit you up to sell my house. It's not always the case. It depends. If you have the nicest house in the neighborhood, which every seller has the nicest house in the neighborhood. For example, there's townhomes behind us, right? There's nothing unique about that one versus that one. I mean, maybe one's an end unit. They're a different color or whatever. Like, if you're in a complex where there's 200 townhomes and there's 8 of them currently being listed, that's gonna hurt. A lot of sellers right now are having to concede to some things. Take a neighborhood like Eva. In Eva, you're competing with a builder, D.R. Horton, who's slashing their prices. We had a buyer in escrow, he's actually still in escrow. D.R. Horton let us know that the buyer could get a discount. Now the buyer's already in escrow. They didn't have to give the discount. I think what they felt is we don't want buyers jumping ship. So for new buyers, get a $50,000 discount. For the buyer that's in escrow, $25,000 credit towards your current purchase that you're already locked into. You've never seen that before. But what goes up must come down. Usually the descent is a lot more steep than the ascent. This post-COVID housing surge, craziest ever. But still, the descent, the return to affordability, some would say, seems to be happening a lot faster than the 20-month uptick. Let's talk about list to sales price. So I checked the neighborhood this morning where at the peak of the market, the list to sales price, the percentage was 103%. So what that meant was homes that were listed for $1 million on average were selling for $1,030,000. Now, if you watched my how to price homes video, I don't wanna go too far into this, but a little grain of salt, we had to price homes low in that market because all the buyers thought it's gonna go over ask. So there's a little bit of variance in there, it's hard to account for. But right now, what we're seeing is sellers, in fact, we have one who's like, no, I wanna try to list for $750. I still wanna shoot for that number. And we're like, if you list for $750 today and you wait, it may be that you're selling for like $720 or $710. I would prefer you price it at $730 today and lock that in. As long as a seller receives my information, mills it over with their spouse and makes their decision, it's always where the seller wants the price. We cannot determine where a home is priced, but I have to be honest with you. I have to give you my opinion of our chances of success at a certain price. And right now we're seeing a lot of sellers holding on to prices of 2, 3, 4 months ago, 5 months ago, and wanting to accomplish that because they waited. And it may be that they either pull their home from the market because they really don't have to sell. They don't want to sell until they can get that high price again, or they end up selling for less because they have to sell. That crazy market, I hear some agents, hating on other agents saying it's been so easy. If you're on the listing side in this last market, it was easier, no doubt. For a buyer's agent, what's easy about competing with 30 offers? You have to create 29 losers for your buyer to win. That's not an easy market. This market isn't easy for buyer's agents in that sellers are offended, they're disappointed, they're pissed off. You have to craft your offer, communicate, create a situation that's conducive to the seller coming to reality a lot of the time. So there's a skill and a nuance to that. That seller's agent talking to their seller and managing a lot of emotions because they missed the train a little bit. But here's another thing I'd say to sellers is almost no one predicts the market right. Warren Buffett said that market predictors are only there to make fortune tellers look good. Now, he's talking about the stock market where it varies a ton each day. A little bit different, but let the principle stand. Almost no one hits the apex. Everything fell off a cliff on this certain day. In terms of the stock market, almost no one shorted the market or just pulled out all their funds at the last minute and timed the market. People's kids don't graduate at the perfect timing. People's job transfers don't happen at the perfect timing. And if they do, it's generally just luck. For a seller that has to sell, I would urge you to take action and have that conversation with us as soon as possible. It could be that we hurry and have the conversation and create a strategy for next year. It could be that we say, hey, I have movers, I have cleaners, I have stagers. Could we get this done this week or next week? Because the market's not trending in a positive direction and you, sir, have to get to the mainland. For buyers, should you buy right now? It's a tough one. Tough one to answer right now. I shared this thing on my stories on my Instagram. Dave Ramsey saying, don't not buy, is what Dave Ramsey's saying. Don't not buy, buy. And if you want to refinance, you refinance when it's the time. I don't like that, Dave. The way he manages his finances is not exactly the way he teaches everyone to manage their finances. He feels like he's trained to play with a loaded weapon, and not everyone is. He feels like he can handle these advanced strategies of using leverage and timing and stuff, but not everyone can. So I'm here to say, while I'm a Dave Ramsey fan in general, him just saying you should buy, I don't totally agree with that. The last time I made a video like this, we had a few buyers drop off, and they're like, Derek, I was gonna buy, but you said not to, so now I'm not. And I'm like, oh, my pocket's hurting. But it is what it is, if you shouldn't buy, you shouldn't. The principles of buying, you should have the staying power of 6+ years. Your marriage, your employment, etc. should be stable. If you're military and you might have to exit in 3 or 4 years, if you're local and you're like, I want to get into the housing market in Eva, but my eventual plan is to move home to Kaneohe or whatever, and I want to do that in 3 years, I'm going to caution all of you, the 3-year exit strategy is not a sure thing. If you bought in 2007 and you were trying to exit in 2010, you were hurting. The Oahu housing market after 2008 as a whole in general had returned to its former prices and even then some by 2014. The Great Recession, not the Great Depression of our lifetime, worst recession of our lifetime, 6 years and you were good. Probably before that because there's equity pay down. 6 years, most everyone was solid. 8 years, they're making money. If they kept their home till 2021, they're a genius, and they're counting how many years early they could retire because they bought a home in Hawaii in 2008, right? If in 10 years from now, that real estate isn't worth more than it is today in Hawaii, we have bigger problems. The value of the dollar, conflicts with foreign enemies, our position in the world and the global economy. The 10-year thing, people say it's foolproof. I just always want to throw the caveat in there because I never want to be an absolutist. I bought 2 houses last year in the last 18 months or something. My exit strategies are 6 years. The principles of buying rarely change. Have the staying power. Have your money right, have your marriage right, have your employment right. Want to be here too. Like people who are coming here and like, I have no interest in Hawaii, I'm military, I'm only an E5, I'm gonna get out, use the GI Bill, my income's gonna cut in half, we're having a kid, so my wife's gonna stop working. But my loan officer said, always buy, so I'm gonna buy. I would say you are of a high risk where I would deeply caution you. After your 3-year billet here, can you stay another 3 years? So can you rent it for a loss? Because if you're buying on a VA loan, 100% financed, you're not gonna rent it for what your payment is. Can you take a loss for 3 or 4 years after your BAH is gone? Can you move back to Texas and take a loss? That's a risky proposition. It's kind of turning into less of a market update and a buyer seminar, right? Let me get away from the buyer seminar and talk more about the market. I'm gonna throw a little thing about, well, what if the market did crash and I got totally screwed? I'm gonna address that really quick for like a minute or two at the end. Where are we seeing the bigger corrections? I mean, in every correction, if you're in a place like Eva, people wanted to move to Eva post-pandemic and get the 4th bedroom and the garage so that they could work out from home and not be locked in a condo during a pandemic. What we're seeing is a larger correction because you're competing against D.R. Horton, so you're competing against new construction where they're slashing their prices. There's single family homes like almost in the 700, low to mid 8s in Honolulu. Hit us up and we can give you all the information on those homes. There's just a lot more inventory, and so you're gonna see a little bit of a steeper correction. Take a place like Manoa, maybe even a place like Nu'uanu. Inventory is limited. There's a certain value to that location now that people are returning to work, etc. The list to sale price thing, you're not seeing as steep of a correction there. During the peak of the market, things were going for 3 and 4% over list price because we had to price homes a certain way. As sellers agents, we had to kind of price them low, and people were coming in hard to get those low interest rates locked in. Now you look at some of the neighborhoods around the island and you're seeing the list to sell price be like 99%, 98.x%, whatever. So homes are actually selling for a percentage less than they were listed for. In general, what does that mean? Yes, some things, not always, but things are going for less than ask. They'd probably go for less than ask even more if this 2-1 loan product weren't such a thing. Because the buyers want their credit. So VA buyers are like, yeah, I'll give you the full ask price, give me the $10,000 credit, etc. If we were to adjust for credits, I bet you that list to sale price would be even lower. In summary, what does that mean? The market's shifting, the market shifted, buyers have more power, sellers have less leverage. If someone needs to sell, waiting could cost them a ton of money. If someone does not need to sell, hit me up and let's talk about when we think this thing's gonna correct, what the Fed's saying, what interest rates are doing, do a little bit of that math, and when do we think, if your home was worth 800 at the peak or $1 million at the peak, when do we think it'll return to that? What do we think the chances are of getting a good price today? I want to help you sell your home or keep your home if that's the move. Rent it out. You win monopoly by keeping assets or trading up to bigger ones, not by just selling them and buying vacations. That's not how you win monopoly. And we want everyone out there to win their monopoly game. Last little nugget. What if I buy and what if everything goes to crap? This is kind of an advanced, this is a different strategy. But what if? What if you bought and you had to do a short sale? Love him or hate him. Donald Trump filed bankruptcy multiple times, right? Filing bankruptcy, short selling your home. These sort of exit strategies, they are things that happen. They are things that we have at our disposal. Am I buying at a bad price on a VA loan, 100% leverage, and wanting to leave soon? And my wife and I just got in an argument? No, I'm not doing those things. So if my money, my marriage, my employment is right and I have the staying power, yes, I'm still buying. Now, do I need to feel like I'm getting a good price? Yes. I might be local brada, local auntie, but I know Hawaiian Airlines wants me to go move to Ohio and fly the Amazon stuff, and I'm gonna leave for a period of time. So now I might have to rent my home for a loss for a little bit, but I wanna keep my home in Hawaii because I'm gonna come back. We have a buyer right now. I actually love this guy. High-level CEO. We're writing an offer right now. It's just too low. Now, there are some things that are just we're not gonna drop 50% in value in Hawaii. Oceanfront property, that one little home on the cliff, always gonna be sought after. We wanna be as aggressive as we can. I have no shame, and my team has no shame in being aggressive for our clients. I'm gonna try to get some things a little under asking or get a credit depending on the home and where it's at. We can't totally rape the sellers on every single transaction because every transaction doesn't lend itself to that. Maybe we can get a little something. But when we can go for their throat, for you, that's what we do. When you're a seller and you want me to protect your throat, that's what we do. Yours is unconventional for different reasons. There's a lot going on with the
We bought a house from Core Team Hawaii here in Honolulu.
For me, I feel like the YouTube videos were incredibly helpful because I got to see the area before I moved to the area. I got to get a vibe off of the area without ever having to actually be here in person.
Even though we are here and we live here now, we own a home here, we still watch your videos.
You guys all know Mahe and I believe. We also have Aiden. Aiden's our young guy.
I don't know if you can pan out at some point to show everyone here at this gathering, everyone's talking, everyone's laughing, just listening to music, sitting back, having a drink.
All these people behind us come from many different walks of life. I mean, we have people who lived here all their lives. We have people from all over the mainland, and I mean that's just what makes it so cool. I mean, that's how our team works as well.
Connected with Derek, and Derek was able to help us sell my mom's childhood home.
They were really descriptive in their videos, answered all our questions. They were awesome.
Great team.